Hello Big Lake Community Ed coaches. This video is to overview fall 2025 weeks 1 through 4 of the lesson plan. Right now you're looking at how the vault area should be set up. Quick running through the stations here where the orange dot is where you're pushing a mat to this cone, then pushing it back and letting your friend go. The older the class, the further the mats could be, and the oldest kids, you can ask them to forward roll over the mat here, like the older kids do on team or in high school. Other kids, the running will be enough of a challenge for them. Here next to the yellow dot is where they're going to be practicing donkey kicks with their hands on the cheese mat, feet on the springboard. I would encourage a coach to show that, who can get their feet really high and really impressive so that they know what they're looking at. Sometimes when kids have only seen other kids do one, they don't understand how high you could really go. And then in that oldest age group, we're trying to show them what it would look like to go to a handstand and then roll down the cheese mat. The next station is at the purple dot, where they crawl up onto the panel mat and practice a pop-up onto this mat. And I placed this blue block here for safety. I think that will be our safest ask, is to ask kids to climb down on that and then look at the purple dot and jump to stick finish soldier. So the stick finish soldier is not the main objective of the station, but is another way we can be asking a little bit more of kids when they're rushing around on vault. Please look at the differences in the lesson plan of going hands on hips and 2 feet to 2 feet to 2 feet, then adding a step hurdle into it, and then adding an arm circle eventually. Then our fourth vault station over here, waiting on the green dot, is that wall walk to handstand. So our goal on this wall walk to handstand is not to move our hands in. It's to leave your hands here and work on how straight and tight you can be, and then adding the kick to handstand flat back as the challenge versus walking towards the wall. You can see a separate video for that. Notice here I had 4 stations and 4 different colored dots, so I could call the stations by the dot color. Then you can say, all right, friends that are on vault, if you're at the purple dot, go to the yellow one. If you're at the yellow dot, go to the orange one. And then you can re-go through and say, remember, now that you're at the purple dot, you're practicing your pop-up. And at the yellow dot, you're practicing your donkey kicks, and pairing the color that they already know with the station they're doing that day can help them learn the terms for the skills that they're doing. So again, you may have to be setting the dots up. You'll be a part of the process. And if you have the ability to, I would try that tactic, because it makes you have to say less words to help the kids know where to go next. I chose to start over here in the bars area, and note that this station is going to be in the way for warm-up. So you will have had to use this. So there may be throughout a night a lot of collapsing this off to the side and moving out of the way and reassembling. Right now I have it set for the 5-6 class. So they will have a panel mat partially on the springboard and put their feet together. Then they would be where the green one is. They jump to the yellow one and practice their tuck jump and then crawl out. The older classes would use this block and have it behind the springboard. But the 5-6s, it's just too big of a distance and too high up. Please do not put the dots on the mats like that, like I did to show you, because the dots can slip. It might be helpful to write a chalk X on there if it makes it easier for directions, but don't use the dots. I just wanted them there for the video. I also wanted to point out that I used a trail of red dots where you might benefit because they have to get around the pit, and sometimes they just don't understand where it's safe to go or what we expect of them. So when you say, okay, you're gonna rotate over to the station with the red dots, please find the red dots and follow them with your feet. And that again might just cut down on some of the safety talks during your rotation. Over here at the rings, we're practicing monkey flips, Please know how to challenge them to next ask them to reverse, then connect up to 3, then do it in a pike position. You could even put a puppy foam in between their legs. And note that we want dots off to the side as often as we can, so that if a kid falls backwards out of what they're doing, they're not falling into their friend. The station here at the strap bar says to have a block available. This is where the Mancino blocks are being stored this fall, so they should be nearby. This is how I would set up for the 5-6 class. Some 7 and 8-year-olds and probably intermediates will just want to jump off the ground, and that's totally fine, but 5-6s will be unable to do that. And that's where they're practicing a form of jump to front support, then either swinging their legs 3 times, casting 3 times, and practicing the forward roll dismount, where they can lower their legs down, not let them slam down, and hold their chin up by the bar. And again, that's something we have to coach for, we have to ask for. Most kids don't naturally do that. They just flop forwards off the bar and think mission accomplished, and they don't even know that there was more to learn. So make sure you're having them hold their chin above the bar. Remember, that's a pullover in reverse, and it's the easier way. So if they can't do it the easy way, they probably can't do it the harder way. Then over here is the slider glide swing. So their feet will go on this slider, hands here, so they'll look like either a pike or a hollow, depending how tall they are, and slide their feet out and back, trying to keep their legs glued and their knees straight the whole time. This is where I chose to put dots. I think if we can, and there's good safe space on the gray floor, because it's off to the side, over time, if they're just used to that, it's probably the safest. So we should try for it if we can. And just please, before you start your class, look for things that they might want to play with, sit on, and just move them out of the way. And just say 2 feet on the dot. We don't sit at gymnastics. Gymnastics mats aren't chairs. The stairs aren't chairs, and just try to keep as many objects out of their way as possible. Here is a full view of the beam area. This station here into the pit, Lanny and I changed as we were experimenting and setting it up to make it a little bit safer than what was originally planned. And I put a red arrow there, so if any child is taking their time in the pit, you can say, please touch your hands to the red arrow. You need to get out so your friend can go. Follow the red arrow till you get to the yellow cone, and then they could stand off to the side. And then I also put another red arrow here where you could say, stand on the red arrow until your friend touches the yellow cone. So using things that they will obviously recognize can help. And the idea is that they're going to jump over those pit blocks into the pit. Then during beam for age 5-6, they're using this bar. And notice we tried to clear the area, so nothing else for them to hang on, trip on. We're trying to keep this beam against the wall when we're not using it, so kids aren't running on both sides of it. So this is a great setup here. You notice where the dots is off to the side as we can be. We put that other one here for during class, and then when you go to put them away, you can nest them both over here. The laser beam would need pit blocks for the 7 and older class, where they're doing a teeter-totter instead of their bear walk. The 5-6s are going to bear walk, stop next to each dot, and raise 1 foot in the air. So it should look like how you want them to get on a teeter-totter, but they're going to bear walk across. So they're hopefully kind of using the muscles for teeter-totter, but learning bear walk as well. And then a note about this medium beam. So we chose to go this way, which is against what I would normally do, because there's a dismount mat that's safer on the other side on the end of the beam, but this side is safer to jump off the side of the beam, and we decided that was better to go with. So if kids are walking too close to this end, I would suggest maybe putting a cone on the beam right here so that they can't walk past that, or a shoelace and saying don't go to the shoelace, stop before the shoelace and jump onto the dot, because we don't want them accidentally falling off onto this hard ground. So think of that beam as shorter than that to keep them near safety. And we should just talk if it's not going well and dismount the other way. The problem was over here going sideways was too close to the bleachers, too close to this chain. And then if you notice over here is kind of a good little hiding spot for people to get into trouble. So this might be better, but we're not sure. So help us figure that out. And then this bar is where the 7-8 class is doing their, and the intermediate is doing their wall walk pullover during beam instead of the 5-6s being over here. So remember, this bar is only for age 5 and 6. That's who it's meant for. And this switches out for that older group. And then we'll head over to floor. You can see there's a medium beam set closer to the floor, and that will often be high up. So make sure before the night starts that got moved down. Please double check at all times before class starts that there's a mounting mat available at both of those medium beams. We don't want kids crawling in this when the hard ground is right there. We want them using a mat over here. And remember, if the 5-6s are going a little bit slower, a little bit more tentative, you can always move the mounting mat that way to make the beam a little bit shorter. And then for the older kids, move it this way so that they have more room to walk. So help the traffic as much as you can, because you want them to get all the way across 2 or 3 times so that they're jumping off and practicing their stick finish soldier. But if they're really tentative and starting at the end, they might only have time to get across 1 time and maybe 1 student a 2nd time. So make it as short as you need to help them get their turns. Then here is where they're doing forward rolls with the puppy foam in between their legs. You can see a separate video with some advice about that. Note there, I put a yellow dot, so you could say jump onto the yellow dot, now turn and find the yellow dot, then go to the blue one, to help them not run around the gym that way. So again, any colors and things they recognize is helpful. Notice this dot's off to the side. Here's where we're doing kick to handstands. There's a training video of that from this summer, so please take the time to watch that, because we don't want that to go uncoached. Kids really can improve at a handstand with just a little bit of advice. So every kid you want to say something to about what they could work on next, whether it's a start position or not letting their feet switch spots in the air, or they're piked, or they're arching, or you need to spot them. Make sure you're trying to give them some sort of help, not just monitor what they're doing and let it keep happening. And then over there, you see where they're standing, waiting for their friend going up on the tramp, and that's where they're doing their seat drop with their puppy foam in. And again, watch the video, watch the gymnast improve at it, and tell them, did you know you could do that with your legs straight the whole time? You don't have to bend them at all, and challenge them to connect it, to keep their legs together and not drop the foam, and to keep their legs straight and to really do it better.